Hello, my name is Alex and I am the host of How Grotesque podcast, and this is episode 1 of the series. Hopefully you'll like it and you won't find it repulsive. So, what is this podcast about? It's about rambling, raving, ranting and banter, freestyle fiction if nothing more. There is no continuation, no framework, not much of anything but a ravings of possible lunatic, to be frank. So if you want to engage few minutes with ramblings on multiple subjects, from garbage collection to piracy, this could be just the place for you, my dear listener. Still, there are moments of clarity and lucidity in all of this, so anything goes. And as such, there are stories that are forgotten in the mists of time regardless if they happened yesterday or some centuries ago. So if you are attracted to highbrow banter, I think you'll find this podcast very informative and perhaps even entertaining. This podcast is for mature audiences and listener discretion is advised. All that being said, now let us dive into the first episode of How Grotesque podcast. Opening episode is called High Frequency Tango. Energy, also known as frequency, which is the basis of the material and immaterial world. Maybe it will never be explained so that we can perceive it in a quantitatively and materialistically measurable way. The energy equation is E equals hv. E represents energy, H represents Planck's constant, and V represents frequency. The energy equation is a direct relationship between frequency and energy because as frequency increases, so does energy. Naturally, the developed West-centric way of decoding information requires exact values in order to function, but it is a model like all others, with its own limitations, starting from the inability to accept the subjective image that depends on the observer as much as on the observed. Now we have reached the Higgs boson particle as the basis of fluctuations in the nucleus, but even that is not far off. There are already models that divide that particle into constituent elements, which in turn opens the door for a model where the constituent elements are also divided. And they share what they share. We have a situation that reminds us of a dog that wants to bite its tail and turns in a circle without reaching it. It seems that there is no end to subdivision. Because one is contained in all and is projected in all, it seems all are composed of one. It takes an incomprehensible paradigm shift, something completely new, to be able to grasp the nature of that force and its very essence, and that will probably never happen. Or will it? There is no measurable and quantitative way to capture it. Not least with the reality decoder we have at our disposal, known as the brain. It is also known for being used as an ornament by many. So at the end of the story, no matter how a person turns, we gotta take a leap of faith. Which is not so bad, at least not in my perception of reality. Especially if you know what form of materialization that energy or frequency sometimes take. Of course, far being from some religions and instant ready-made models of beliefs and rituals, you know what they say, God save us from religion. Religion is the basic force with which the elite throughout known history distances man from the possibility of conscious co-creation of reality by forcibly imposing a dogma that mandates upon us to believe in an external force, an external terrible authority that punishes, all by sowing fear and lack of trust, faith, self-belief, and doubt the possibilities that are really huge. Intellectually, many are aware of this. But in the heart it is difficult to find a path that allows one to co-create one's own reality in accordance with the dualistic nature of the universe. They made us believe in imposed limitations, so we experience those limitations. Few lucky people overcame those limitations and reached an unimaginable reality of existence. I envy them very much. I hope you all liked episode 1 of this podcast. Thank you so kindly for listening, and I will be back next time for episode 2 of the How Grotesque podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, sharing, and above all, Subscribe to this channel, dear listener. Because, why not? Join me next time for another grotesque ranting through space and time. Cheerio.
Grand bonhomme bleu avec un petit nez rouge, une paire de gants blancs et un grand col qui bouge, des pieds de géant et de longs cheveux rouges. Bleu, blanc, rouge, c'est moi, pose le clown, le cœur sur la main, le rire à pleines dents. La vie est belle, faut la prendre en riant. Quand tout va mal, riez les enfants. Alors venez rire et chanter avec pose le clown. Bonjour les enfants, vous allez bien? Vous m'avez reconnu? Vous m'avez reconnu? Je suis votre ami Bozo le clown. Tout en bleu, des rouges, des gants blancs, qui c'est? Hein? Bleu, blanc, rouge, c'est moi, Bozo le clown. Le cœur sur la main, le rire à pleines dents. La vie est belle, faut la prendre en riant. Quand tout va mal, riez les enfants. Alors venez rire et chanter avec Bozo le clown. La vie est belle les enfants. Il faut jamais pleurer. Il faut toujours rire. Alors venez rire et chanter avec Bozo le clown. Un grand bonhomme bleu avec un petit nez rouge, une paire de gants blancs et un grand col qui bouge, des pieds de géant et de longs cheveux rouges. Bleu, blanc, rouge, c'est moi, Bozo le clown, le cœur sur la main, le rire en pleines dents. La vie est belle, faut la prendre en riant. Quand tout va mal, riez les enfants. Alors venez rire et chanter avec